Welcome everyone, I'm Dr. John White, the Chief Medical Officer at WebMD, and you're watching Your Health on Tech, where we explore the latest innovations in digital health tools and AI, and put into context for you how to use these tools to maximize your health. Lots of people are using wearables, watches, rings, to help give them the data they need to make them healthier. But what about those folks who don't like wearing these tools? I often hear from people they don't like wearing them to bed or using them when they're playing sports. What other smart devices can help provide the same or similar information without having to wear them all day? Well, look no further than the bathroom scale. Now, the one I grew up with simply told me my weight, and that's it. And I didn't even think I needed more. But now scales can tell me not just my weight, but my muscle and bone mass, my BMI, my body fat, water percentage, and some even tell the weather. We've all been gaining weight during the past 2 years, and everyone wants to get fit. Some people want to get more fit. So how does the latest in fitness tech help us reach our wellness goals? Joining me to discuss this is Don Saladino. Don has been a fitness trainer and coach to celebrities for over 20 years and is a leading expert in wellness. Don, it's nice to see you again.
Thanks for having me on.
You and I have been talking about these scales. We both have tried them out. I want to ask you, how do we use this information that these smart scales give us on our fitness journey?
Well, first off, I work with 1,000 people in a group every month, and I think it depends on the individual. Now, if you're someone who's type A, you could take this data and use it constructively. I think it could be a very useful tool. But on the other hand, I've seen people who overuse this data, and their moods begin to become a bit manipulated day in and day out, and this can become very dangerous as well.
Do we need all this information? It's telling us percent body fat, muscle mass, even hydration. Is this data reliable? And then how do we use it?
Yeah, listen, not every scale is created equal, right? So you can jump on several different scales and it can give you several different numbers. I believe that if you're going to use a specific scale, stick with that scale. But those numbers can be manipulated because of hydration. It can be manipulated maybe due to a bad weekend of eating. The technology is getting a lot better. I think it can be very useful. But again, if you're one of these individuals that is going to continue to use that data and day in and day out is going to be manipulated by whether those numbers are in your favor or not in your favor, that can be dangerous.
And then we look at trends rather than single points in time. But to your point about some people might obsess over that constant data, is that then perhaps a better use of these non-wearable products that are giving some of the same type of information?
I'm just not a believer that we need to be looking at things like body fat and weight every single day. I believe that we can collect that data, put it in our drawer, leave it alone for a few weeks or a few months, and then focus on the task at hand. Focus on improving sleep quality, nutrition, right? Training, maybe your steps, right? Certain things like that can help.
Years ago, we only had weight, and that was good enough. Are these other measurements helping us get healthier?
It could. These other measurements could help us with our training and with our program design. Just to give you a quick example, I went and did some testing on my body fat and my muscle mass a year ago. I was playing a lot of ice hockey. I was weight training a lot, and I noticed that I actually lost a little muscle and gained a little bit of body fat. Now, due to that data,
it's probably like this teeny
but it was still showing me a trend. And I think based off that trend, I was then able to recognize that I was in a little bit of a too much of a caloric deficit. I was able to increase my calories, increase my carbohydrates a bit because I needed more energy.
Because it gave you that data.
It gave me that
otherwise
data. So in that case, it was helpful. But a lot of people who are getting started use that information and then focus on the task at hand day in and day out.
Now, I mentioned that you've trained a lot of celebrities. Everyone can't train with Don Saladino, either time or resources. But there now are devices and apps on the market that can check the muscle mass of each of the muscles in your body, look for any imbalances, look for changes, and then they say they generate a personalized exercise program for me based on my body composition. So how do we incorporate that type of information? Do we really need it? Is it reliable? how do we interpret if it says, okay, you have a muscle imbalance? We all have these imbalances.
I think some of these devices can become incredibly useful for people who don't have access to coaches. Now, when it says it generates a program, there is a coach on the back end that's building a program. There's an algorithm, and based off the information that it's collecting, it's spitting to you program A, program B, program C, however many programs it might be. So asking me if it's good, I mean, it depends on who's writing that program. So when someone asks me, do you like restaurants? My answer is, I like good restaurants. Not all restaurants are created equal. And I think it's the same thing with a lot of these devices. If you have
we need to have that transparency.
You need to have that, right. And if we don't really know who's writing those programs on the back end, it could be some intern, it could be someone trying to do these things at scale, and you could be having something sent to you that's not ideal. But if the exercises are safe, if it's allowing you to get off the couch and move, it doesn't have to be the best. If it's getting you out there to move, to burn some calories,
but are
to
they
make better
really
decisions.
Personalized?
No.
In terms of, why not?
Because personalized would be coming in and assessing every single individual, putting them through a movement screening, looking at their imbalances, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be 100% personalized. Like when I design programs, and I've designed tens of thousands of programs, I am going after specific areas of the body that are very commonly tight, or maybe lacking in stability, or maybe areas that the general pop has to work on. But every month I am faced with someone who might have had a specific surgery or a specific injury or spinal fusion or something that just might be working against what I've written, and that's when I can go back and call an audible and change the program up for them.
But since everyone can't come to you or someone like you, perhaps these play some role. Let's turn to genetic testing and spitting into tubes. So people often use that to look at their ethnicity, genealogy, but there now are genetic tests to help guide my personal fitness plan. So I spat in a tube recently, and it told me what type of exercises are best for me. It can tell you power, endurance, and strength response. For me, it talked about what type of exercises I should do, and it said I should place a higher priority on strength-based activities and split the rest of my time between power and endurance.
Interesting.
So how does genetics play into our fitness goals? Is it too early to know that difference? Or yeah, I should listen to it. I should point out, it did tell me I was prone to an ACL injury, and I did have one.
Wow.
So is that coincidence?
I think that testing is getting better and better, and I think we are gaining so many more answers than we had 10, 15, 20 years ago. So again, I think it's going in the right direction. Am I going to turn around and say that getting that type of genetic testing is going to give you a better program than one of the best strength and conditioning coaches on the planet? Absolutely not.
But does genetics play a role? And if so, how much role in terms of the way our bodies build muscle and burn fat?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have specific type fibers, and we have specific ways that we could train that's going to allow us to become more successful with our training. That I believe in. But I also believe, I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach, but all of us need to focus on strength. All of us need to focus on hypertrophy, which is muscle stimulation. That is body armor. As we get older, my grandmother fell at 83 years old and shattered her elbow. And if she had the body armor, meaning muscle, that probably would have protected her, and she would have maybe lived a longer life.
And flexibility and core strength, so those are all important.
I think those answers it's giving you, I could have told you that, right? But am I saying that you needed to have genetic testing? We've done a lot of this, and we've been very successful without it, but I know it's going in the right direction.
A lot of people need gamification.
Yeah.
Or they need certain tools to help make fitness fun. Sometimes people feel, I don't want to go to the gym, it's boring. But then there's tools such as a smart jump rope that you had tried out, and when we chatted about it beforehand, you said, oh, John, I'm really interested in trying this out. So tell us your experience with the jump rope.
I've never been a jump rope fan personally.
Why not?
I found it a bit boring. I like listening to music if I'm doing some type of cardio training. I don't
Can't you listen to music when you jump
can,
rope?
but I also want to count, and I always like to quantify those numbers. So by using that smart jump rope, I was able to set different goals, whether it was time or whether it was a number. And I found myself jumping a lot more and actually looking forward to getting back in there and doing it and working on it a bit. So that's just a perfect example that technology can, I think, enhance our relationship with a specific type of training. And that I'm all for. But I think you also have to weigh out the cost of these things. And if the product's incredibly expensive, is it actually worth it? And I think that depends on the individual.
So how do we pull it all together? People have gained weight during the pandemic. They're trying to get back into shape.
Right.
They're thinking about various digital tools and apps, different devices that are powered by AI. What's the decision-making process in their mind, Don, to decide whether or not to go with it?
Well, I would tell them make sure they're not doing anything that's dangerous. And I don't know every single person on the planet's history. If you had an ACL issue, is that jumping rope going to help it or is it going to hurt it? So I think that's the first question that you have to ask yourself: is this going to actually help me get into better shape? And if that's the case, without injury, of course, right? Meaning, because a lot of us will do specific types of training in our elbows and our shoulders and things start acting up, and I think that's not good. But if it's keeping you interested and it's keeping you engaged and you're someone that's never really liked working out, but now you're using the smart rope and for some reason it's just clicking with you, go for it.
And what about the scale? What should we be doing with it?
The scale is something that I believe it's data that can be very useful, but it shouldn't be overused. And it's something where we need to focus on the process. We need to focus on things like nutrition, rest and recovery, and just activity levels. And I'm not saying training, activity, meaning whether it's walking or tennis or lifting weights, being more active. If we do that, then the numbers on that scale should improve. But if we're neglecting those main points that I just listed, then you're going to get really frustrated over those numbers on the scale because they're not going to get better.
All right. Well, Don, I want to thank you for coming in,
for
sharing your insights and how we use tech
A lot of fun.
in our fitness journey.
Thanks for having me.
So how do we use tech as part of our fitness goals? Well, as Don mentioned, it's not a requirement to use these apps and devices to get on your journey to fitness and wellness. But for many people, it can play a role. You want to think about how do you use that information that you're getting from these non-wearables, such as smart scales, and how often you're going to get that information and how it plays in to revising your plans. You want to think about, are any of these going to make fitness more fun for you? And therefore, you're going to stick more with your goals. So they certainly can play a role. We still have work to do in the ability to truly create your own personalized plan, but it's a work in progress. And we certainly have made a lot of progress, and there's more to come. Thanks for taking the time to watch. If you have any questions, drop me a line at drjohn@webmd.net.